What's going on, guys? Jordan Richards here from Destination Devy to present you your Dynasty Stock Watch for week number 10. Please drop a like on this video. If you like this video, drop a comment below with some of your favorite players that are rising or falling right now in Dynasty. And so let's get right into the video. Let's not waste too much time. You know what to do. Subscribe to Mayo Media Network, drop this video a like, and drop me a comment, and I will get in those comments later on this week. But I want to start this video off talking about the perennial All-Pro, or so we thought, wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy was the 2018 Biletnikoff Award winner for the best wide receiver in college football. He was the next man up. He was the next big receiver coming out of college football at Alabama. In 2019, he was somewhat outshined by his peers of CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, who was a sophomore who ended up winning the Biletnikoff, and fell a little bit out of favor in terms of dynasty value goes. And now you come to 2020, the season began, it's about halfway through, and he's been arguably the least impressive of the big four other than Henry Ruggs. Of all the receivers in the first round, he's been probably the least impressive. You can say Jalen Reagor is least impressive, you can say Ruggs is least impressive, but I think for what we expected out of Jeudy, being in Denver, being in a fairly capable offense with a lot of weapons, there'd be room for him to grow, especially in that offense with Drew Lock, the ascending talent that everyone thought at least would be kind of the next guy up. But now you look at kind of how he had a couple games that weren't so great. He started off kind of hot, and the injury to Courtland Sutton, of course, allowed him to get more targets early on. But the problem was that we didn't really see that consistently. We saw inconsistent quarterback play and inconsistent offense, and so Jerry Jeudy struggled, and the Denver Broncos struggled, and then they had injuries to Phillip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon with the DUI, and all these different things going on, and maybe it didn't allow Jeudy to kind of find a role in that offense. But in the past 2 weeks, he's seen double-digit targets in each week, and he's been producing for fantasy owners. And so his stock for me is rising right now. It had been coming down a little bit, not too far because he's a rookie receiver, but definitely now he's starting to show what we've seen out of CeeDee Lamb, what we've seen out of Justin Jefferson, kind of the two studs of this class right now. Jeudy was still my wide receiver 4 coming into the season, coming into the draft, and he stayed pretty much there because he's still a blue chip prospect. He's still a very talented player, but I didn't love the situation. I didn't love the quarterback, and we've kind of seen that already, but he's definitely finding his own in Denver right now. He's top 16 in air yards. He's top 10 in air yards for the last 2 weeks, which means he's getting the ball downfield and he's getting deep targets. His average depth per target is also very high. It's in the top 15. So that's all things that you like to see. But the issue for Jeudy right now is that he's been a little bit inconsistent with his hands. And we saw this in college. And so I'm hoping this just gets better. He has some concentration drops even when he's wide open, and yet for some reason he can't quite figure it out. We did see it in college. We hope it improves. But playing alongside Courtland Sutton, or for right now, playing on his own, has definitely allowed him to grow into that offense. We saw what he did this past week against the Atlanta Falcons and A.J. Terrell, the rookie cornerback out of Clemson. And so it's hard to say kind of where Jeudy's going. I think he's trending up, and that's why his stock is up. He's seen 24 targets the last 2 weeks, which is excellent. Again, the drops are a bit of an issue, but the touchdowns are good. The average depth per target is good. The air yards are good. So all these stats are starting to trend upwards for Jeudy, and I think he could be a second-half steal even in redraft leagues. And if you can still get him in Dynasty, I'd be considering trying to make that move because eventually he's going to become unattainable. And kind of like we're seeing with Denzel Mims and his performance on Monday night, he's starting to put together some good games, starting to see why he was a highly drafted player. And so both these guys, honestly, are coming up right now in Dynasty, and their stock is starting to improve. Now, one stock down that I wanted to touch on that I haven't really got around to, I talked about it a little bit, but it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. When he was drafted in the first round, we all thought he would be the guy. He'd be the guy to take over that offense, get the snaps, take over that Kareem Hunt role that they kind of had been looking for, or so we thought. And so what we've seen so far, though, is a little bit of a mix of what we expected. We're not seeing as much receiving work as maybe we hoped. We've seen him involved in the goal line, but he hasn't been successful. So we're seeing a back who is talented. He can make people miss, but he can't really get touchdowns. He's not really scoring. He's not doing the small things that we need a running back to do. And I think that may be one of the reasons why we're not seeing enough of him on the field, and especially this week was kind of most concerning, where he only saw a 43% snap share. That's below guys like Travis Homer. That's right on par with DeAndre Swift, who's sharing a backfield with 2 other backs. It's just not very encouraging for Clyde right now, even though he scored a touchdown this week, and I believe he's had 6 running back 1 or 2 weeks so far this season, which is, I believe, second highest in the league behind Alvin Kamara and Todd Gurley. He's in a tie with a few other running backs. So he's still been good. He's not been a bad running back by any stretch, but he may not continue to get much better, and that's my only fear with Clyde, even though I think he's really talented and the offense is what it is. Ultimately, it runs through Patrick Mahomes. It runs through Travis Kelce. It runs through Tyreek Hill, who's leading the league in touchdowns right now. There's just a lot of things going on in Kansas City, and maybe Clyde isn't going to be as good as we hoped he could be. He may be a running back 2, he may be a running back 1 some weeks, but he's not going to be that every week running back 1 that we see out of the Alvin Kamaras, the Christian McCaffreys, the Saquon Barkleys. He's not going to necessarily be that bell cow stud running back that we really hoped he could be now that he landed in Kansas City. I think it's a legitimate question to say, are we looking to sell Clyde right now? Because I don't think his value is down, because he still has the fantasy points, he still has the numbers, he's doing fine, but I think he's trending the wrong direction. And so if you are looking to unload him for someone, there may be an opportunity there to where you could kind of get some value, maybe get an extra first-round pick and a capable running back, just as a way to kind of take that burden off your shoulders, because you don't necessarily know what he's going to do week to week, and he's not getting the snaps as well on top of that. And there's always the fear that he's not the guy next year as well. Damien Williams isn't playing this season because he opted out because of COVID, but I think there's an argument to be made that he's been the most successful running back in this offense we've seen in recent memory. We saw what he did in the playoffs. We saw what he did at the end of the season last year and all the way through to the Super Bowl. And I think Kansas City still likes him. And I could see a position where they have a timeshare next year and Clyde isn't on the good end of that timeshare. He's not getting the receiving work. He's not getting the goal line work, because Damien Williams was actually good in that role. He was actually scoring, and that's why he had that full workload, or that majority workload, that 60 to 70% share that we hope to see out of our bell cow running backs. And even though Damien Williams isn't the most prolific running back, he's not the best running back we've ever seen, but he fits really well in that system, and maybe Clyde just doesn't fit the system as well as they hoped he would. When they're running the ball because teams are playing deep coverage, yeah, Clyde's fine, he gets that rushing work, and he can have great games on the ground, but when they're choosing to take away the run, and especially when Pat Mahomes is just airing it out, Clyde is a lot less effective, he's not on the field as much, and so it makes him a little bit inconsistent as far as his fantasy value goes, and you still may be able to move him for a guy like even J.K. Dobbins, who should be a better running back going forward on a better offense that suits his needs better than what we're seeing from Clyde in Kansas City right now. So just something to think about, because I've been thinking about it a lot, what to do with Clyde. I own him in a few spots, and it's difficult to sell him, but if the right offer comes along, I think you need to entertain him, because he's not going to be the stud that we hope he can be, and even in heading into next year, he still may not be the stud we hope him to be. Now, the third topic I want to talk about is rookie quarterbacks. What can I say about the rookie crop of quarterbacks we've seen so far this year? Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and now Tua Tagovailoa is looking fantastic. And while Tua's only had one game really where he's looked amazing, to outduel Kyler Murray in Arizona, that's like vintage Tua right there. That's what we saw at Alabama. The guy who's just killer gunslinger mentality, makes the plays that need to be made, runs when he needs to run to make a play for his team, throws the perfect passes when they need to be made. That's the Tua that we all fell in love with as a freshman at Alabama, and that's the Tua we hope to see going forward. And I'm not trying to overreact to one game by any stretch. He's still probably the third quarterback on that list right now. But I think number one is Justin Herbert. The biggest part about Justin Herbert is that he's not getting any wins. And people can talk about that all they want, but at the end of the day, this is fantasy football we're talking about. And I still think Herbert's putting his team in a position to win. If that defense is giving up 25 to 30 points a game, it's not his fault that they lose the game. He did his part to keep them in the game. The past 2 weeks, he's lost on the final play. And it's just like, what more can you expect from the guy? His team is not that great on defense. They're not playing very well. The offense, he's kept moving every single week. He's like the quarterback 5 on the season. I believe he's quarterback 5 in points per game and like quarterback 8 overall, playing only 7 of the 9 possible games so far. And it's just amazing what you've seen from him. He hits all of his receivers in stride. He puts the ball where it needs to go. And it's just, they haven't quite made enough plays to win as a team. And unfortunately, this has been the narrative for the Chargers for a little while. But Herbert especially has been so good. And comparing to Joe Burrow is a product of volume, where Herbert is just a product of efficiency. He's been getting good volume. He runs when he needs to run. But he's been much better than Joe Burrow has been, where Joe is just airing it out. He's going to break the probably completions record, attempts record, break the yardage record. But Herbert still may finish ahead of him because he's just playing better right now. He's leading his team efficiently. He's not just a product of volume. And that's one of the reasons why I do really like Herbert right now, because he's not a product of volume like we can say about Joe Burrow. And you look at Tua's kind of a similar mold. He wasn't throwing the ball like crazy this week, and I'm sure he'll grow into it, but playing on a better offense with a better playing with a better defense is benefiting both of them. And while Herbert's defense isn't great right now, we expect it to get better with Derwin James returning next season. I do think that both those players are in better spots, and I expect Tua to get some weapons this offseason to kind of build around them, whether it's Jalen Waddle or Devonta Smith, two players he played with at Alabama. I expect Miami to take one of those players in the first round this season, and I expect Tua to kind of mold better with Preston Williams, with Devontae Parker. Hopefully they get a running back in there that can be a little bit more consistent. But I do think that Tua could end up being one of the better quarterbacks in this draft class between the three of them. Herbert obviously has been excellent so far, and I'm not sure kind of what to make of Burrow. I do think he's a bit of product of volume, but in my opinion, all these guys are top 10, minimum top 12 quarterbacks. And you're looking at the Bakers, the Goffs, Derek Carr, who's had honestly, Derek Carr's been really good this season, but he's just not going to put up the numbers these guys will put up. But he's been good for where he was drafted this season. And it's like, do you want Carson Wentz over these guys? And I don't know, with how bad Philly's been, how bad that offense has been, and with how many picks he's throwing. It's just, these are three guys that are coming into the league right now who could be top 10, top 12 guys every single year. And I don't think that's crazy to say. I think they've been spectacular, like I said about the small sample with Tua, but otherwise they've been really, really good. And I expect them to keep playing really well. And I don't know what's going to stop them. Maybe they'll run into some trouble down the stretch, but they've been really, really spectacular. And with only 2 to 3, maybe 4 quarterbacks coming in, we're going to see a lot of influx of quarterbacks coming in with Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields as the two blue chip guys that will probably be top 10, top 12 picks like we saw out of Tua and Burrow this season. But those three guys I think could still be top 10 to 12 quarterbacks going forward in Dynasty. And if you have them, I wouldn't be trying to trade them away because you have, a Matt Ryan or a Dak Prescott. I would be trying to hold on to those guys. I think they're going to be continuing to get better. They're going to continue to rise up boards. And you never know who may be the next big thing. Justin Herbert is so good. You don't want to trade him away for anything right now. Joe Burrow, like I said, the volume has been so good. You don't want to trade him. And Tua, man, Tua may be in some negative game scripts because that defense is really good, but he looked fabulous against Arizona this week. It'd be really hard for me to trade him knowing that he's the career passer rating leader in college football history over his career. That's a guy you want to hold on to. Thank you guys for watching this video. This has been the Dynasty Stock Watch for Week 10. My name is Jordan Richards from Destination Devy. You can find more of my work on Destination Devy on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to Mayo Media Network. Drop this video a like and a comment, and I'll try to get to the comments this week. You can follow me on Twitter at @chaboyjrich. Thank you guys for checking it out. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.